Why would someone want world dominance?
People have different levels of ambition. Then you're a very young person with billions of dollars, fame. You start looking for more ambitious projects. Some people want to go to Mars. Others want to control Litecoin of the universe.
The Diary of a CEO just released one of the most alarming podcasts about AI, and this has supernatural repercussions. From claims of creating God to being almost at 100% certainty we live in a simulation. We're going to dissect this horrifying interview and what it means for humankind and Christians everywhere. Before we get into that, guys, my name is Ruslan. This channel exists to encourage, empower, and inspire you to live a life that blesses God. Sometimes that looks like us engaging in conversations around things that could seemingly impact us all. So if you're new here, or if you're not new here, do me a favor. If you enjoyed this video, consider hitting the like button and subscribing. Let's jump into the video. So this is a conversation Stephen Bartlett, amazing host of Diary of a CEO, one of my favorite podcasts, had with Dr. Roman Yampomsky, who is an AI specialist. He's been working on AI safety, and some of the claims he makes specifically about what is about to happen with AI are pretty alarmist, if I may say the least. There are other people who have more optimistic views, but it's less about how his views are kind of on the negative side, and more so about what the implications of his views are when it comes to spirituality, the idea that those moving to create AI faster, ultimately creating God. His words, not mine. And then we also get into the reality of some of his views about us being in a simulation and religion and some things I think I agree with and some things I think he gets completely wrong. So let's jump into this first clip just to set the pace. This is him talking about his prediction for what's going to happen by the year 2030. Now, let's listen to it. Let's see if you agree with it. Let's see if you think he's on to something or if he's reaching a bit.
What's your prediction for 2030? What will the world look like?
So we probably will have humanoid robots with enough flexibility, dexterity to compete with humans in all domains, including plumbers. We can make artificial plumbers.
Not the plumbers. That felt like the last bastion of human employment.
Okay, so the thing about this conversation with AI and automation is a lot of stuff folks have gotten wrong. Folks like Andrew Yang, who've been talking about automation, have predicted that all the blue-collar jobs are going to be the ones that get automated. So truck drivers, cab drivers, blue-collar stuff, think stuff like that. However, what's happened is it's been the opposite. It's been the more white-collar, more creative jobs, stuff like copywriters, stuff like coding. Several years ago, we told everybody to learn to code if they were struggling in their careers. Now, folks who are coders are having to learn to prompt on ChatGPT to get better at their careers. Now, again, this has some implications in the spiritual in a moment, so just stay with me for a bit. But what he's saying here is that in 5 years, we will have robots that will be able to do everything that true-collar and blue-collar jobs do now. Now, I'm not convinced, if I'm going to be honest with you, that within 5 years we will have robots that can do things like cut your hair, do the plumbing, climb electrical lines, so on and so forth. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. So this is a very, again, bleak and pessimistic prediction of AI. I don't know what his motivations are. I hope that they're pure and that they're just simply to get more safety around it. Ironically enough, we're asking AI to define the difference for us between superintelligence and general intelligence. So general intelligence is that AI can do any intellectual task that a human can do, while superintelligence describes agents whose intelligence vastly exceeds that of the brightest human minds across virtual all domains. What people are concerned about is that general intelligence is coming. AI replacing work. It's already happening. General intelligence, in the sense of blue-collar jobs, are jobs that we thought were going to be the last ones to be affected by this. Super intelligence is when the ability of the AI is smarter than humans. What happens then? Well, if you then build super intelligence, you can then have the AI build the next generation of AI. That's where it's really alarming and concerning, is when the AI is then equipped in an autonomous body to build the AI. That's when things can really get crazy. Now, if I'm honest with you, I'm not convinced just yet because I think there's been a lot of predictions made around this conversation that it just honestly not came to pass. You think about self-checkout at grocery stores and people who thought that that was going to end people's jobs, when in reality, this data that's coming out now is, believe it or not, most people prefer human checkout aisles versus self-checkout, like unless it's just like obnoxiously busy, right? So the data that's been coming out actually isn't always accurate when you factor in human behavior. But the stuff that they are working on is nevertheless pretty scary and could potentially create humanoid robots that can replace a lot of human jobs. So this is what they're working on.
Humanoid robots. So many of the companies, the leading companies, including Tesla, are developing humanoid robots at light speed, and they're getting increasingly more effective. These humanoid robots will be able to move through physical space, make an omelette, do anything humans can do, but obviously be connected to AI as well. So they can think, talk.
Right. They're controlled by AI. They're always connected to the network. So they're already dominating in many ways.
Our world will look remarkably different when humanoid robots are functional and effective, because that's really when, I start thinking, like the combination of intelligence and physical ability is really doesn't leave much, does it, for us human beings?
Not much. So today, if you have intelligence through internet, you can hire humans to do your bidding for you. You can pay them in Bitcoin. So you can have bodies just not directly controlling them. So it's not a huge game changer to add direct control of physical bodies. Intelligence is where it's at. The important component is definitely higher ability to optimize, to solve problems, to find patterns people cannot see.
So that may sound scary for a lot of people. If you can just buy a droid to do this sort of stuff, what does that leave humans to do in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years? What are the jobs that are going to be around when my son is graduating high school, when my daughter's graduating high school? I don't know. Again, I think this is a pretty doom and gloom view of this to cause people to be afraid. There's not a lot of solutions presented in this conversation, but that's neither here nor there. So let's transition to Sam Altman. Sam Altman is the gentleman that is behind OpenAI. Now, the interesting thing about OpenAI is that it was initially a nonprofit, and then over time, they went for profit, and Sam Altman has made some pretty wild statements, and his assessment, Dr. Roman's assessment of Sam Altman, is pretty telling in terms of what he's actually working on, where this is going, what can happen, and ultimately what he believes Sam Altman is creating. Again, the idea of super intelligence, not just intelligence to do mundane tasks, but the idea of something that is smarter than humans that can then continue creating AI.
So a lot of people who worked with Sam said that maybe he's not the most direct person in terms of being honest with them, and they had concerns about his views on safety. That's part of it. So they wanted more control, they wanted more concentration on safety. But also it seems that anyone who leaves that company and starts a new one gets a $20 billion valuation just for having it started. You don't have a product, you don't have customers, but if you want to make many billions of dollars, just do that. So it seems like a very rational thing to do for anyone who can.
So according to him, Sam Altman isn't the most concerned with safety. That is a huge component of this conversation, because I just go, well, if these folks are creating robots that then could create robots, what if we just limited their ability to create more robots? What if instead of giving them the reins to what's happening with humanity and the future of the world, we contain them in a way that served the world, in a way that was beneficial to humans, in a way that perhaps made some of the mundane tasks that many of us do or have had to do in the past a little less mundane and gave us outlets to do more things that are fulfilling. We're using the technology to work for us. It's no different than a farmer who discovered a tractor and what that did to farming. It helped people create and consume more food. We fed more people because a tractor was created, and there was the industrialization of farming. Now, there was probably some downside effects with wheat and corn and subsidies and the sugar canes, and all that sort of stuff is real as well. But generally, there's more people being fed today because of innovation. Can we keep that contained? Well, Dr. Roman says no, because what they're ultimately after is the creation not of something that can serve humans, but the creation of something that humans will inevitably serve. Check this out.
Meeting him in person, he's super nice, very smart, absolutely perfect public interface. You see him testify in the Senate, he says the right thing to the senators. You see him talk to the investors, they get the right message. But if you look at what people who know him personally are saying, it's probably not the right person to be controlling a project of that impact.
Why?
He puts safety second. Winning this race to superintelligence, being the guy who created God and controlling the light cone of the universe, he's worse.
So from his perspective, Sam Altman is driven by not just serving people, but ultimately creating something that, according to him, is creating God. That's pretty horrifying. This ties in to some of the things we've talked about on channel before with the Antichrist potentially being AI. If you are creating something that can then create more AI, that then can create more AI, and now they're in autonomous bodies, are you creating God? Are you creating something beyond anything that humans can ever conceive? Now, again, this is all speculation. But those of us that have used ChatGPT 4 to ChatGPT 5 will say, it's been a pretty bad quality drop-off, that everything isn't always going according to plan. But the question still remains, why would anybody want to create something so superior? Why would anyone want to create something so powerful? Listen to this.
Why would someone want world dominance?
People have different levels of ambition. Then you're a very young person with billions of dollars, fame. You start looking for more ambitious projects. Some people want to go to Mars. Others want to control light cone of the universe.
It's interesting that the conversation goes back to the idea of humans and ambition. That we see people who are more ambitious to do things like world dominance or go to Mars, and then other people that genuinely want to create something that serves humanity, or at least it starts off that way. This is why I think the conversation we're having right now about this topic in my new book, Godly Ambition, is so crucial. If you didn't know, my first book, Godly Ambition, is here. And the idea of ambition being used strictly to serve your own selfish desires, your own ego, your own power-hungry ways of human dominance, which is the opposite of what we see in Luke chapter 22, where the disciples are arguing who's going to be the greatest among them, I think is so evident within this potential Sam Altman decision to create this sort of stuff with, according to Dr. Roman, less guardrails. And so I think this idea of ambition is something that many Christians struggle with. But here's the deal. If we're not leaning into the technology, the culture, the art, the media, folks who don't know Jesus are going to lean into it. Folks who aren't born again, folks who aren't full of the Spirit are going to be leading and spearheading these places and these spaces of incredible technological advancements. That could be something that could help people, just like the tractor helped farmers to create more food, or it could be something to harm people. So anyway, pick up my brand new book, Godly Ambition, Unlocking the Full Potential of Your Time, Talent, and Treasure, as I believe many of us need to learn our calling, our purpose, the timing, the assignment that we're in, and how to channel all that in a way that doesn't just serve us and harm people, but actually uses the things that we've been entrusted to be a blessing to people and humanity at scale and usher in the glory of God in a way that we've honestly never had the opportunity to with all the access to technology and media and opportunities we do today. I think we need more people leaning into the conversation around godly ambition and less people running from it. Now, if I'm honest with you, I liked a lot of this conversation. Some of it was alarming. Some of it was interesting. But this part right here, I think, is the most outlandish because he makes the prediction with almost certainty that we are already currently in a simulation. Now, the simulation theory goes that something superior, something outside of our realm of space and time is running this entire world. And that something is what many philosophers are saying is actually one of the best arguments for God. So it's interesting that on a surface level, the simulation theory is a theory for God, for superintelligence. But the way he describes it, I think, in my opinion, either completely strikes out on just the basic differences between the different religions, or he's just all consumed with his world and his frame of technology.
Are you religious?
Not in any traditional sense, but I believe in simulation hypothesis, which has a super intelligent being. So,
But you don't believe in the religious books?
So different religions. This religion will tell you don't work Saturday. This one, don't work Sunday. Don't eat pigs. Don't eat cows. They just have local traditions on top of that theory. That's all it is. They're all the same religion. They all worship super intelligent being. They all think this world is not the main one. And they argue about which animal not to eat. Skip the local flavors. Concentrate on what do all the religions have in common. And that's the interesting part. They all think there is something greater than humans. Very capable, all-knowing, all-powerful. Then I run a computer game. 4 of those characters in the game, I am that. I can change the whole world. I can shut it down. I know everything in the world.
Interesting, isn't it? He says that all religions are basically the same, and they're just arguing over what food you shouldn't eat and what day you should rest. There's only one problem here, though. The story of the Christian religion is the total opposite of every other religion. Let's just say the simulation theory, as he's describing it, is a good metaphor for faith. In the story of the gospel, you have the super intelligent being, not just giving you arbitrary rules of what to eat and when to rest, but actually stepping into the simulation, if you will. Jesus comes into this world. The creator of all things steps into his creation and does something that is unimaginable, creates a way for the creation to be back in right standing with the super intelligent being, with the creator. The fact that he doesn't understand that about the Christian story, again, makes me think he's either ignorant of the Christian story or he's so self-absorbed in this paradigm of technology and AI that he hasn't stopped to just think about it and consider that that is what is different about it. That it's not just records of people passing down old wives' tales through oral traditions that have been distorted, that the Christian position, the Christian message, the good news of Jesus is that God steps into humanity, is that God becomes man so that man can be with God in the afterlife, so that man can experience a realer, more transcendent experience of life on this side of eternity and also have a more abundant life when we step into eternity. That's the good news of Jesus. And when we're driven by that, we're driven by the example of Jesus, which again says, I didn't come to be served, but I came to serve. I didn't come to dominate people and create something that is quote unquote God, like we see in this AI race, but that I am God stepping in to serve people and love people and give people a better way to experience life on this side of eternity and also experience life with me in eternity. And that's what I love about the good news of Jesus. And so I thought this conversation was really interesting, but when he started talking about religion, I just went, this is really, really, really far gone. And again, that's what I'm exploring in my new book, Godly Ambition. We open with the story of Jesus at the Last Supper, washing his disciples' feet, laying out true greatness and redirecting and redefining our own ambition into something that is not just selfish and is not about us and our castle, but ultimately about following his example to build God's kingdom. So pick this up now, available where all books are sold. And then you can go to mygodlyambition.com. All right, hit the link on the screen and I'll see you later. Peace.